Hello once again. Continuing on now, we're going to talk about a few types of cartilaginous joints that occur within the skeletal system. And as the name implies, these are joints where you're going to have cartilage uniting bones together. So as with the fibrous joints, there's no joint cavity. Those occur with synovial type joints where you have an actual compartment that's filled with fluid in between the bones. So you don't have that with your cartilaginous joints either. Some of these can be classified. There are two different types of cartilaginous joints: synchondroses and symphyses. Now, syn here is referring to with, and cond, there's cond again, cartilage. So that literally means with cartilage. So that's a pretty good name if you have a joint where two bones are connected by cartilage. All right, so what are some examples of these? Here are some synchondroses, where you have bones that are united by hyaline type cartilage. That's going to be a synchondrosis. And we've already learned about the epiphyseal plates in children and adolescents, where you have that little thin strip of hyaline cartilage that's mitotically active. Cells are dividing, and that's allowing bones to lengthen. So that's a type of synchondrosis, but of course those growth plates close once you become a young adult. So that's a temporary type joint. Another location where you have a synchondrosis is between the first rib and the sternum. And this is actually an immovable type joint. So you've got a little strip of hyaline cartilage there on each side between your left and your right rib number 1 and the manubrium, that upper part of the sternum there. Now, interestingly, where your other ribs connect into the sternum, those are actually classified, even though you have cartilage there, they're classified as synovial joints because you do have a little compartment or a capsule around the joint and it's filled with fluid. But rib number 1, where it connects into the sternum on the left, and your left rib number 1 and right rib number 1, where they connect into the sternum, those are immovable joints, and you don't have a little joint capsule filled with fluid there. So that's called a synchondrosis type joint. All right, and then the other type, symphyses. Now, we talked about the pubic symphysis over on the anatomy side. Hopefully you've finished that up by now. That is a little pad of fibrocartilage. Symphysis joints have fibrocartilage. And again, that's like hyaline cartilage, but it's got a lot more protein fibers in it. So it gives it a tougher consistency. The other place where you have these, as we've talked about before, in the intervertebral discs between the bodies of vertebrae, you have fibrocartilage in those locations, and there's a little bit of hyaline cartilage along the edges of those. That's why they have that drawn in there on the diagram from your textbook. That can be a little bit confusing. So those discs in between the bodies of your vertebrae are a type of symphysis joint as well, because you have fibrocartilage at that location. All right, so that was pretty easy and straightforward on the cartilaginous joints. The next video lecture will be a little bit more extensive because we're going to start talking about the different types of synovial joints, and those are the ones that we tend to talk the most about and be the most concerned with from a human health standpoint. So we'll be talking about those next.